friend once told me, Ro, no matter what, you're always smiling. And I probably do quite a lot. But it wasn't always a good thing. That smile started off as a mask, my game face, but now it's a mindset. Hey, Royal Family, welcome to the front row with myself, Roanna Mudley, and this is Lemon and Honey, a new series that I started where I talk about the lemon moments and the honey moments, the lessons from life. I'll be here for 6 weeks on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I grew up in a little chaos, lots of financial strain. My dad found it very difficult to keep a job and he was often unemployed. And because there was financial strain, this caused a lot of stress within our family. My parents often fought because they were under financial pressure over a long period of time. I found myself growing up pretty quickly, and I was often the mediator between the two of them when they were fighting. I started very young when I would come between them and stop them from fighting, or I would try and mend the situation the next morning by forcing my dad to wake up and make some breakfast for my mom, or I would say to him, please say sorry to my mom because I just didn't want them to fight anymore. These roller coaster emotions that I was feeling as a very young child sat with me, but I also knew that I couldn't show anyone what I was feeling or what I was going through. So I adopted a game face personality where I would smile and move on when I was in public. If I really think about it, I think the smile made me feel safe. And also, if nobody knew what was going on in my family, then I could live in a world where that didn't exist. And as a child, I found peace in smiling and not letting anyone know what my problems were. So it allowed me to also forget about what was going on at home. Over time, this smile became an automatic gesture. It moved to laughs and jokes and lots of conversation around happiness. And this was something that helped me stay sane and stay positive outside of home. When you grow up with a lot of financial strain, it puts a damper on the way you see life. I think very early on in my life, I knew that I was different, and I knew that I couldn't get all the things that I saw my cousins or my friends have. And I knew that it was always a struggle to just get by. And my parents were people that never spoke about money or finance in a positive way. They would always say, we have no money. And I remember as a teenager even saying to my mom, stop saying that you don't have money, because the more you say you don't have it, you'll stay without it. But that never changed. And the stress of that is magnificent, because in addition to me feeling like I was worthless at home, I also had to endure friends and family teasing me about the clothes that I wore, or the clothes that I wore repeatedly because I had no money, or if my mom saved every little penny she had when she was working to reward me with a name brand jean at the end of the year, my cousin would ask, how are you wearing those jeans? Not realizing that there was blood, sweat, and tears that went into the whole year for my mom to give me a moment of happiness by buying something nice for me. And people always looked at me like I was poor, and that didn't feel great. I didn't like that feeling. I didn't want it to be associated with me. And that stuck with me even when I became an adult. I would always see myself as someone that was not deserving of the finer things in life, because I grew up like that. And I would smile and move on. But within me, because of it being such a stress growing up, it was always something that I was insecure with. And my safety net was the smile and the conversations that I would have with my friends that wouldn't allow me to remember. And I often found myself not wanting to go home, especially when I was in my early 20s. I felt like it would be better if I spent time with my friends, where it was a space that nobody knew the truth and I could be as happy as I could. And I often found myself avoiding going home because the stress of not having things was so evident in our home. Eventually, I realized something very powerful. You can be strong and soft, and you don't have to mask everything. You can show a little of yourself and be vulnerable, and that's okay. The other lesson I learned, that I could still be positive even though everything was not okay, and I didn't need to force a game face. So I decided to shift my thinking from surface level game face showing to really healing. And the first thing I did was I tuned inward. I stopped numbing what I felt, and I started listening to myself and listening to what I was was going through, and being real with how I felt about things that I had gone through as a child, as a teenager, and as a young adult. That's years of trauma that I needed to deal with. And the different ways and methods I used was to meditate. I became an aggressive meditator. I became an aggressive journaler. I started a diary and I started writing down every single thought that came through my head every single day. And when I did it over time, I realized so much of the hurt and the pain I had not released from myself, and I had not spoken about, and I had not addressed. And I then found myself writing 25 things that I didn't forgive my parents for. When I wrote the 25 things that I didn't forgive my parents for, I was very surprised because I didn't know I had those feelings. And with all the research that I did, the research said that it was important that I spoke to my parents about how I felt. I grew up in a home that never addressed any of our feelings, and even if we tried to express it, it would be brushed under the carpet. The typical brown family where everything's great and we don't talk about anything and we shouldn't address any issues. But I took the plunge and I decided to not do it face to face because I thought it would be too much and too emotional. So I video called my parents and I explained to them how I feel and what I think we should do next. And I explained all the things that I was upset about and I didn't realize, and I think that we should find some healing around this. Unfortunately, they were not ready to receive that information. They're the typical old school Indian parents that just didn't want to talk about it and they couldn't face the truth. Even though I was having an adult conversation with them, perhaps they just saw me as a child and never understood that I was addressing something that was not attacking them, but addressing something that was a culmination of so many traumatic events through my journey of growing up that we needed to talk about. While it's okay for them not to receive that information and not to react in the way that I expected them to, it helped me to get over something that I was holding so deep within myself. And even though I didn't get the response that I needed from them, and I still don't know if they heard me or understood what I said, what mattered more is that I created awareness around it. And the healing process started from there. The next thing I did was to walk away from anything or anyone that was toxic. So anyone that didn't make me feel like I was worthy enough. People that put me down, people who would insult me, people who made me feel like I was beneath them, and also people that brought out the worst in me, because I'm also not perfect. And when I'm around people that are not great people, then I would also be an average of the 5 people that I'm joining. So I became very aware of who I wanted to surround myself with, because I didn't want to become someone that I truly wasn't happy with. And I refused to be someone that is not the highest, truest version of myself. So removing the toxicity was tremendously helpful because it elevated the way I started to live my life, the way I started to think about life, the way I started to communicate, the way I started to be in this world. And then I started to use the smiles that came to me naturally, but use it for a sense of gratitude. Because every time I smiled, it was because I was alive. Because every time I smiled and I could speak to someone, I was worthy of that space that I was occupying. Because every time I smiled, I was grateful that I have the blessings that I have to have come this far in life, to be able to share a moment with someone. And if that moment with someone resulted in me making them feel a little happier because I was smiling, then I was happy to do it. And so my game face became my superpower. My game face of smiling and being pleasant, even though I may be not having a good day or I may be going through some stressful times, my game face became my superpower. And the last thing I kept telling myself was, this too shall pass. Like everything, nothing is permanent. And if I could just push through and keep the positivity and move forward and believe in a higher power and believe that the universe has my back, then everything will be okay. Now, when I look back at all of the events that I had gone through that were not great, and they were bad experiences, and they were traumatic because it led to the way I probably do things, I'm very much more aware of how something affects me. And I think I'm becoming more aware of what my triggers are. I realize that if I try and work more on myself, and if I understand what those triggers are, then I will be able to address it, and I will be able to behave in a manner that is not someone that is traumatized, but is someone that is coming from learnings of being traumatized and then behaving as a better, more useful human in this world. So now I smile. I smile because I genuinely am smiling because I'm happy in this moment. I have immense gratitude to all the experiences that I have gone through, all the turmoil, all the traumas, all the things that may have been unnecessary, but everything needed to have happened the way that it happened so that I could sit here and talk to you about it and also be a better human for it. I am grateful that it allowed me the opportunity to better myself as a person. I don't think I would have worked on myself as much as I did if I didn't experience what I experienced. And I also don't think my story is unique. I believe that everybody has a traumatic problem or situation that they have gone through that is the reason why they behave in a certain way. And if that is something you resonate with, then my message to you is to take a moment and to reflect on yourself and do the inner work. And the inner work doesn't stop. You don't do it for 3 to 6 months and then you're healed. It's a continuous thing. It's a continuous improvement on yourself because you want to be better than you were yesterday. If this video spoke to you, then share this video with someone you love or care about, and also give this video a thumbs up. Keep going, keep smiling, and keep finding your honey in your lemon moments. I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers.